Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with a things that I love video. And today, if you can't tell, I will be talking about some of my favorite astrology books. I have a lot of astrology books. I have read a lot of astrology books over the course of my life, and I have other ones as well. I'm going to be talking about more specific astrology books in the sense of books that I think are great for those that are starting off and maybe are a little overwhelmed because there's so much information out there, and books that are great for specific practices or specific things that maybe you're wanting to kind of like learn a little bit more about. So first one I want to start off with is going to be the only astrology book you'll ever need. And this was probably one of the first astrology books I kind of bought for myself. This is a great book for a variety of reasons, because it is very much going to show you and teach you all about astrology, how to draw your own chart, what each of the signs means, what each of the planets rule over. There's so much information. And then this has ephemerises here, but only through 2025, I believe. No, not even. Yeah, through 2025. So my book is out of date now. They do have a newer version of it. I think I'll have to probably purchase it just to have that information, as it just has, great tables for each of the planets. For those of us that maybe like to reference old school kind of things, it has the moon tables. So this is good if you have other people that you're reading for that are a little bit older. You can kind of reference and kind of draw your own chart if you wanted to. But it has so much wonderful information in here. The stories, how to understand charts, how to, what each of the 12 segments means, things like that. So it's just really, if you were to not purchase any other astrology book and really wanted something that is easy to work with, easy to comprehend and understand, this would be a great suggestion. And again, they have newer versions of this. I'm sure that it's been updated in some ways. But this is one I always tell people if they're wanting to learn about astrology and maybe feel a little bit overwhelmed with all of the information out there, this is a great one. Now, if you are dipping your toes into astrology, but you haven't quite gotten to a place where you feel super comfortable with it, these little books, this is by lovely Colin Bedell of Queer Cosmos, and he is an amazing soul. I love him so much. But this book right here is great because it kind of gives you a little bit of information without being super crazy, right? It's not going to be something that it's like a complete study. I think it's great because it gives you just enough information. So if you just want kind of a better understanding about certain signs or certain things, I think it's nice to have something that's a little bit easier to kind of carry along with you. So this is good, especially if you're someone that's maybe a little bit newer to astrology. So I think these are both really great introductions. Now, talking about books that I think are still really great introductions into astrology. Essential Astrology is by Amy Herring, is a fantastic book. This is great for those of us that, you get an understanding of astrology. You're like, all right, I've already drawn my astrology chart. What does it freaking mean? This is great because it gives you a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of dive in and have a deeper understanding about how your natal or birth chart works, what it means, how it's maybe if you have questions about different points or different luminaries, different planets. This is a great study into it without being so overwhelming that it makes it challenging to understand overall everything that may be happening within your chart. And I love that there's, different examples of celebrity charts, and we can kind of like refer back on what we understand about them and what we have going on. So this is a wonderful book if you're wanting to take a little bit of a deeper, kind of dive into astrology. Now, speaking of other books that I think are great for those of us that are starting, especially when we're trying to understand our own kind of like natal chart, this Analogies, Energies, and Celestial Bodies by Shannon Hugman. She's also fantastic. She's so sweet. She's amazing. I think that this is a great book for having a little bit more of a poetic way of looking at the different planets and what it means. And I love that there is a lot of this kind of information. And again, it's very digestible. It's very easy to understand. I love these people that can write these books and put them out there, and they're just something that is very easy to digest, especially if you're someone that's new to astrology. Even if you're not, this has helped me kind of bring some of that higher information into a much easier to understand kind of explanation whenever I am doing chart readings for clients, or even for, friends or whatever, especially if they don't know anything about astrology. Because sometimes if you're someone that loves astrology, you might start going super deep into stuff, and other people might be like, wait, what? I don't know what that means, or I've never heard of that, or, and sometimes not having that foundation or the language to be able to explain some of these higher concepts to people can make it a little bit challenging for people to grasp what astrology can be and what it truly is. Now, for something fun, there is this book by Pam Gregory, is You Don't Really Believe in Astrology, Do You? I think this kind of falls under a great beginner book as well. I think that it kind of explains things in a really, again, kind of nice, easy to digest. There's some spiritual concepts in here as well. I think it's a great one. And while it does go in kind of deep into some stuff, it's not super technical. I will talk about some more technical books as I kind of go through this video. But I think that this is a good one too. If you're someone that's kind of starting off and maybe you're like, I don't really know what's up with it yet, but I'm not quite there yet. So these two are great for that. If we talk about like our risings, our personal planets, because I think that's where a lot of people kind of start off with, right? They find out their sun, their moon, and their rising. And so then they want to just kind of focus on those things. So I think that these books right here will really help you have a good understanding of what it means for you personally, what these specific signs and planets mean for you, and luminaries. So the Rise and Shine book and the Cosmic Calendar, both by Christopher Rundstrom, are fantastic. Especially if you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, or I know I'm this rising and I don't know what that means. The Cosmic Calendar has a lot of really nice information, and it is like, I guess I would call it kind of a beginner-ish astrological book. I think it's good, especially, again, if you don't have a lot of information, you don't really know too much about astrology, this is a good one to pick up. There's very quick information in these that you can kind of reference. And then with the Rise and Shine, it can kind of help you understand your rising sign a little bit more. So I think it's nice, especially if you're someone that's like, well, what does that mean when it comes to me having a specific sun sign and also a rising sign. So I love that that is something that is included in here, because you don't really see that too often. It's like everything is usually blurb by blurb. And so everyone is like in their own kind of realm, I guess, of possibilities and things. So it makes it a little bit harder, because it's sometimes when our charts are kind of like starting to click and make sense for us, we'll notice that there will be some things that are kind of like in opposition as far as like the meaning. Like you may, so let's say you're a Scorpio sun, but you are a Cancer rising. Now, while they both may have the same element, they are different modalities, and they also have different rulerships. And also one is masculine and one is feminine. And so there may kind of be a little bit of this tension that you may be feeling at times where you're like, I understand I'm a Scorpio sun, but maybe I'm not like the deep, scary Halloween kind of Scorpio sun. Maybe I'm more about just, family and my relationships. And I just am more of like a nurturing sort of person. And that would be that Cancer rising kind of energy. So by having these kind of, if you're someone that's studying and you're wanting to learn and you're wanting to kind of have a deeper understanding about yourself and your chart, go check these books out. I think that they can be extremely beneficial in helping break down astrology in a way that makes sense. Because as someone that, has been studying astrology since my early teens, and I'm now in my 40s, entering my mid 40s soon, I have read basically anything and everything I could get my hands on. When it comes to astrology, I've read some really great books. I've read some really not so great books. And I kind of take what I can out of everything. And I think that these are great. That's why I'm talking about these specific books. These are books that I loved enough to be like, I need to purchase that for me to have as a reference, for me to kind of share with others. I do miss teaching in person. So that was something I was doing for a while, where I was like teaching these classes in person, and I was able to kind of like share these books with others in person during our courses. A fairly new book to me is going to be The Cosmic Symposium by Aubrey Holdshell. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry if I did not pronounce it correctly. And this is a beautiful, beautiful book. It is a piece of it's artwork, right? And this is fantastic. If you are someone that loves art and also beautiful books, this is a beautiful one to add into your collection. If you are someone like me, I do, as you can tell, I do have a lot of astrological books, but this is fantastic because this is something that I feel has like more of an intelligence that connects to the emotions in some way, if that makes sense. I mean, it talks about different soundtracks. If you're kind of like, I'm trying to understand the energy here. If you're someone like me, I love music. So the suggestions of the different songs for different planets really has been helpful for me to kind of be like, oh, okay, I understand this energy a little bit better. And I don't know if that's just maybe me, but for me, it has like allowed me to tune in literally in such a unique and new way. And just the beautiful artwork. I mean, this artwork here, I'm sorry, this is gorgeous. I'm like, if I could just, if I wanted to mutilate this book, I totally would. And collage art, this stuff all over my walls, it's just stunning. So if you're wanting something that's a little bit more of a different and unique perspective on astrology and what astrology can be, as well as wanting to have a renewed understanding about it, I think The Cosmic Symposium is a beautiful book to kind of add into your collection and to kind of dive into a little bit more. Now, I did forget to mention, I'm so sorry, The Moon Sign Guide by Annabelle Gatt. And like I was saying earlier, for those of us that are like, oh, I want to know my moon sign, this is all about the moon sign. And so you'll have a lot of this information in here where it talks about, what it means, and then going deeper, family life, at work, friendships, love and compatibility, and then it has that information, and then progressed moons, which, like I've talked about before, I think in my Show Me How You Practice videos about astrology, I've talked about progressions and transits. So a progression is essentially for however many years you've been alive, you move your chart that many degrees forward. And so that would be your progressions. And so all of the planets and everything else. And so you get to kind of see how at your age, you maybe have changed, or what sort of things are kind of happening, especially if it's like a year where a progression, especially like your moon sign, that one changes the fastest. It changes signs every like 2.5 to every 3 years. So that's where you may feel it a little bit deeper. So this is a great book for those of us that want a little bit more information on understanding how our moon signs help us navigate different things in our lives, and how to connect that energy a little bit deeper. Now, for other books that are kind of like not super, I guess, astrology based, they are, but not really. Or maybe not so focused on like the educational aspect. There are so many, right? And even if I talk about like astrology for the soul, or even spiritual astrology, there are so many books. And Jan Spiller I love her books. But things like this, where this is specifically based off of learning and understanding the north and south node in your natal chart and what that means. And so I feel like things like that, where you start to get a little bit more like into it, and then you're like, oh, but I'm trying to understand this. This is a fantastic book, but I would definitely recommend you start with this book, Spiritual Astrology by Jan Spiller and Karen McCoy. This is an older book as well, and this is going to have a lot of information in the sense of it's great for understanding your chart a little bit deeper, but it also kind of gives you this like very interesting perspective on things, because it's kind of giving you an opportunity to kind of understand your conscious expression plus your unconscious expression, which I think is also significant, because I'm sure you've probably heard people say that they're like, oh, well, this person's not involved, you know, blah, 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 blah. I think this probably also only goes up to 2025. Let's go look. I don't even know if it goes up that far. Okay, so this one stops at 1989. So my book is old. Again, I like to buy used books, and that's okay. That's something that I really enjoy and love. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's all good. So, and I bought it used, so somebody had already written kind of their own peoples in here, which I think is funny, because I didn't go back and like erase stuff. I just think it's interesting. So books like this are great. I feel like once you have like a better grasp on your astrological chart, and maybe you're looking for something a little bit deeper, because like I was saying earlier, I think I kind of stopped, is sometimes you'll hear people talk about like, oh, but they're like an unevolved, you know, whatever sign, and so that's why they're this way. Or, you know, this is someone that's like, I'm an evolved blah, 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 blah. So like I'm a little bit further along and I understand things a little bit more. Now for other kind of astrology, but not really astrology books, maybe more focused on specific planets and things like that, we have the Saturn Return Survival Guide by Lisa Stardust. And this is great, especially if you're someone who's like about to be 28 through 32 and you're like, why is my life falling apart right now? You're having your first Saturn return. Or if you're someone who's in their like, you know, 58 to 62, this is great, because you're probably having your second Saturn return. And so this one just kind of quickly kind of goes through and talks about Saturn, the signs. It kind of talks about like how to utilize that energy in a way that is like concise and also very easy to understand. Lisa Stardust is an amazing student of astrology. I absolutely love her. I love her readings. She is someone who is like just bang on and gets it. Now, Moonology by Yasmin Boland. I'm sure you've seen her card decks out there. I use the Moonology Messages deck quite often. Now, this is a great one in the sense of learning how to connect to the moon. Now, the moon in astrology is something that moves and changes signs every 2.5 to 3 days. So it's constantly shifting, it's constantly moving. It goes through its full cycle every like 28 to 30 days in the sun, you know, the lunations that it has between full moons and new moons and everything kind of in between. And so this kind of helps you understand how to connect to those lunar phases and also incorporating magic. So it's kind of astrology, but kind of not, if that makes sense, because it allows you to understand not just the phases of the moon, but also how each of the different signs that the moon moves into changes the energy and kind of shifts that energy a little bit, which can also help you understand a little bit more of like your personal like natal moon placement. And that's why I also love this one, but this one's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more advanced. But Moon Phase Astrology, The Lunar Key to Your Destiny. This is a great book by Raven Caldera. And this is, it took me a little bit of math and having to really like get into it to really understand this book. So if you kind of struggle a little bit with math, which I know astrology is kind of like for math nerds, I guess, and I'm not a math nerd, but I've always loved astrology. So I think it really helps you kind of connect a little bit more to your own natal moon. And especially like me, like I have children, I'm married. I like to kind of understand their own moon phases as well. It helps me understand how to communicate and connect with them. Other like fun books, I'm going to talk about this one. This is Your Destiny, Using Astrology to Manifest Your Best Life by Eliza Kelly. And she's fantastic. I love her so much. She is an amazing human and I just love her. So I think this is great if you're someone that maybe is wanting to incorporate other practices into what you're doing. So I kind of like to take everything I've learned over time and kind of utilize it with everything else that I'm doing. So I'm trying to do everything in conjunction. So it's like I use my knowledge of astrology for like moon phase magic. I use my understanding and study of Reiki for healing practices while also using moon phases. I use tarot with the moon phases and astrology to kind of help me understand what's coming through. What do I need to keep in mind? I use my like, more witchy kind of knowledge and using the moon. So it's like everything kind of ties back in together. Same thing with like using astrology to kind of like manifest your best life and kind of move into this energy a little bit more, especially as once you have like a better grasp and understanding of it. This is a great and fun book to kind of use and just explore something different. And then finally, I'm sure you guys have seen it. I have a lot of like books that I didn't think would be YouTube okay, like books on intimate relationships within astrology. And here's another one. This is just The Signs in Love. This is by Caroline Faulkner. And this is just kind of helping you if you're like someone that's dating, or maybe you do a lot of chart readings for people that are, you know, trying to understand things. It really helps you understand the different ways that these energies can kind of work together. Now, I feel like this is a little bit more like basic. It's not super in-depth. There are a lot of books that are a little bit more in-depth. I think if you have a knowledge of how to look for really great synastry in charts, I think it can be a really great tool in your toolbox. So, and then finally, if you're someone that's a little bit more advanced, predictive astrology. And this is the Llewellyn one, but this is by Chris Brandt Risk, I'm assuming is how you say their name. This is something I have like literally just been reaching for repeatedly because I do transit astrology readings. And so it's something that like I like to just kind of reference just to kind of make sure like I am understanding things in a lot of ways, because a lot of what I do is what I call intuitive astrology. Because to me, it's like I've taken all the information from everywhere and I'm utilizing it under the lens of like my understanding and what I've seen. So it may not always be exactly the translated meaning of something, but to me, it's more of like what feels right for me per chart. But sometimes I do miss stuff. And I like having reference guides like this that allow me to kind of tune in a little bit more and having a really great understanding. This is particularly helpful if you're trying to look and get some horoscopes essentially for like the future for yourself. If you have specific dates in mind and you're just kind of like, I just want to see like what's up for that date. If you have something big happening, this is fantastic to reference and to kind of have understanding of like what it all could mean, as well as it gives really great examples to help you have a deeper understanding of astrology. If you're just a little bit further on your journey and you're kind of like, well, I want some like more complicated books. There's so many more books. These are just some of the ones I have in my collection. I have read so many other books. If I can kind of compile a list of other really great astrology books, I definitely will. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what some of your favorite astrology books are down below. I'm always looking to add and to learn and to see, because I know people are constantly putting out stuff. I know some of these books are a little bit older, but that's okay. Sometimes I really love these like older references and just like very unique sort of books. Like another thing I've really been getting into is like degree theory in astrology. So that was like something I was really obsessed with learning last year. So I did a lot of like studying those things. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching my videos. I hope that this video helps somebody out there to kind of find some great books to help them on their journey. So thank you so much. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.